The diner on Zurin 9 was small and dim, tucked into a corner of a busy industrial street. Smoke from nearby factories hung in the air, and the hum of machinery echoed through the alleys. Inside, the diner was warm, lit by flickering neon lights, with metal tables bolted to the floor and chairs that had seen better days. Creatures from many planets came here, some large, some tiny, some with scales, some with fur. It was a place to eat, rest, and talk quietly between long shifts in the factories or workshops. At one corner of the diner, a young dragon named Ryvax sat alone. His scales were dull from the dust of the planet, and his wings drooped weakly at his sides. He had been injured in a mining accident months ago, and though he had healed, one wing never worked properly. He struggled to move around, relying on a small walker made from metal pipes to get from place to place. Ryvax kept to himself, avoiding the crowded tables and hoping no one would notice him too much. As he nibbled on a small portion of roasted lizard meat, a group of aliens entered the diner. They were tall, with green skin and long claws, and they moved in a way that demanded attention. They wore armor that glinted under the neon lights and carried weapons that hummed quietly. The aliens scanned the diner like hunters looking for prey. When their eyes landed on Ryvax, a cruel smile spread across their faces. "You there," one of them sneered, pointing a claw at the small dragon. "You call that a wing? Pathetic." The others laughed, a sound that made Ryvax's chest tighten. One of them kicked the edge of his chair, sending it scraping loudly across the floor. Ryvax stumbled slightly, but his walker kept him upright. "Why don't you just crawl back to your little cave?" another alien taunted. "No one wants to see a crippled dragon trying to eat like the rest of us." Ryvax's eyes filled with tears, but he blinked them away. He had learned long ago that crying in front of others often made things worse. Around him, the other patrons of the diner shifted in their seats, avoiding the bully's gaze. Some pretended to read menus, others focused on their food. No one wanted trouble, and these aliens were clearly dangerous. At that moment, a human named Milo Carrick looked up from his work. Milo was in his late 20s, wearing a jumpsuit with several pockets full of tools. He had been fixing the electrical wiring above the counter, reconnecting flickering lights and checking circuits. Milo was quiet, usually keeping to himself, but something in the way the aliens mocked Ryvax caught his attention. His eyes narrowed slightly. He didn't like bullies. Milo set down his tools carefully and wiped his hands on a rag. He watched the scene quietly, assessing the diner. He noticed a power panel near the entrance, some wires exposed, and the metal floor plates that ran along the diner's walkway. Milo's mind worked quickly. He didn't need to be strong, he just needed to be smart. If he could use what he knew about electricity, he might stop the aliens without anyone getting hurt. The aliens were getting bolder. One grabbed Ryvax's small meal tray and tossed it across the floor. The food scattered, leaving a mess of meat and crumbs. Ryvax's shoulders sank. He had been too hungry to care about appearances, and now his only meal was ruined. The aliens laughed, louder this time, and a few patrons shifted uncomfortably, unsure if they should intervene. Milo stepped forward slowly, calm and deliberate. "Hey," he said, his voice low but firm. "That's enough." The aliens turned to him, surprised to see a human approaching. He was unarmed, but his calm presence carried authority. "Leave him alone." The aliens laughed at Milo. "And who are you?" one of them sneered. "Another weak human? Think you can stop us?" Milo glanced at the wiring above and then at the power panel. He smiled faintly, not with pride but with focus. In a few moments he could create a surprise that would startle the aliens and give Ryvax a chance to stand safely. Milo moved his hands skillfully, connecting a few wires and adjusting a small device he carried in his pocket. Sparks flickered along the metal floor plates, and the lights above began to blink rapidly, casting strange shadows across the diner walls. The aliens took a step back, confused. The hum of electricity grew louder, making the air feel charged. Milo's plan worked exactly as he hoped. The bullies didn't understand human technology and didn't know how to react. "Step away," Milo said again, louder this time. "Or you'll regret it." Ryvax watched, wide-eyed, as the aliens hesitated. For the first time in months he felt a flicker of hope. Someone was standing up for him, not because they owed him anything but because they knew right from wrong. Milo wasn't just clever, he was brave. The aliens, unsure of the strange sparks and lights, muttered angrily and took a few steps back. The diner was quiet again, except for the soft buzz of electricity and the distant clatter of dishes. Ryvax's scales shimmered slightly in the flickering light. He could hardly believe what he had just seen. A human, small and unarmed, had stopped the strongest and cruelest creatures in the diner with his mind and skills alone. Milo turned to Ryvax and gave him a small nod as if to say, "You're safe now." Ryvax's chest felt lighter, and for the first time in a long while, he smiled. He still had a long way to go and he still had challenges ahead, but he knew one thing clearly: humans with their courage and cleverness could make a difference, even for a disabled dragon in a crowded diner on a faraway planet. The aliens, frustrated and embarrassed, finally left the diner, muttering threats that no one believed. Patrons began to look at Ryvax differently, some offering shy smiles and small gestures of support. Ryvax felt a warmth he had never known, a sense that he might belong here after all. Milo returned to his work, but now with a new friend beside him. A dragon who had learned that courage could come in many forms, and that sometimes one human could change everything. The diner settled back into its normal rhythm, the hum of machines and the chatter of patrons filling the air once again. But the memory of what had just happened lingered, a reminder that even in a universe filled with cruelty and danger, bravery, cleverness and kindness could light the darkest corners. The diner on Zurin 9 was quieter now, but the tension still lingered. Ryvax sat at his corner table, trying to eat what remained of his small meal. His wings were folded tightly, and his eyes flicked nervously toward the door, wondering if the bullies would return. The humans and other patrons kept their distance, pretending to be busy, but their eyes often darted toward the young dragon. The air felt thick, and even the soft hum of the diner machinery seemed louder, echoing the nervous energy that surrounded Ryvax. Milo Carrick adjusted the tools in his pocket, keeping one hand close to the small electrical device he had just used to scare the aliens away. He glanced at Ryvax, whose scales still shone faintly under the neon lights. Milo could see the fear and hesitation in the dragon's eyes, and he felt a protective urge. He knew that Ryvax needed more than just a one-time defense. He needed someone to show him that courage and cleverness could matter in a cruel world. Suddenly the alien mercenaries returned. This time they were angrier, their claws tapping against the diner's metal floor with deliberate menace. "You think you can humiliate us and get away with it?" one of them growled. Their eyes scanned the diner until they landed on Ryvax again, their focus sharp and threatening. Ryvax froze. His wings trembled and he gripped his walker tightly, afraid of what they might do. The diner felt smaller now, every table a barrier he could not cross quickly. Other patrons shrank back into their meals, unwilling to intervene. The mercenaries laughed, a cruel echoing sound that seemed to fill the entire room. Milo stepped forward calmly, keeping his movements deliberate. "Leave him alone," he said firmly, his voice cutting through the tension like a sharp blade. The aliens turned toward him, surprise flickering across their faces. Milo was unarmed and smaller than them, yet he stood with confidence. His human stance was steady and his eyes showed no fear. "You again?" one alien sneered. "A weak human? What can you do to stop us?" Milo didn't answer immediately. He scanned the diner quickly, his mind calculating the best way to handle the situation without hurting anyone. His eyes fell on the power panel near the wall and the metal floor plates that ran along the main walkway. He knew he could use them to create a harmless but startling display. A quick flick of wires, a few connections, and the room could suddenly seem dangerous to the aliens. The aliens advanced toward Ryvax, claws raised. Milo took a small step to the side and pulled out a device from his pocket. With careful hands he connected it to the panel and adjusted the settings. Sparks jumped along the edges of the floor plates, making the metal shimmer and hiss. Lights flickered above, casting moving shadows across the walls and the frightened faces of the bullies. What is this?" one of the aliens whispered, stepping back. They were unused to this kind of trickery. On their planet, strength and intimidation ruled. Technology and cleverness were tools humans used, and they did not understand it. Milo smiled faintly, knowing that fear could be created without violence. "Step away now," Milo said, his voice calm but firm. "Or you'll find out that humans don't need claws to be dangerous." Ryvax watched wide-eyed. He could not believe what he was seeing. A human, small and unarmed, was controlling the energy in the diner in a way that made the strongest bullies hesitate. He had never seen such courage. Milo was not just standing there, he was thinking, planning and acting. That intelligence and calm bravery made him seem much bigger than he really was. The aliens stopped, unsure of what to do. Their weapons hummed uselessly in their hands, and they glanced at each other nervously. The sparks on the floor made them wary, and the flickering lights added to their unease. Milo could tell they had never faced a human like this before. "You're lucky," one of the aliens muttered. "We don't know what this is, but we'll deal with it later." They turned and left the diner, their pride wounded, their threats empty. The remaining patrons let out quiet sighs of relief, their fears slowly lifting. Some gave Milo small nods, a silent thanks for his courage. Ryvax felt a warmth in his chest that he had not felt for a long time. For the first time he realized that he was not entirely alone. Someone cared enough to stand up for him, not because they had to, but because it was the right thing to do. He looked at Milo and gave a small, shy nod. Milo returned it, a gentle smile forming on his face. Milo crouched slightly to Ryvax's level and spoke softly. "You're okay now," he said. "They won't bother you anymore." Ryvax blinked, trying to believe it. "I've never seen a human do that before," he said quietly. "It's amazing." Milo shook his head gently. "It's not amazing. It's simple. You use what you know and you think ahead. Strength isn't always about size or claws. Sometimes it's about brains and courage. And a little creativity never hurts." Ryvax's wings twitched slightly. He had always admired strong dragons, those who could fight and hunt, but he had never considered that clever thinking and kindness could be stronger than raw power. Seeing Milo act, he began to understand that humans brought a different kind of strength to the universe, one that inspired trust, courage, and hope in others. The diner slowly returned to its normal rhythm. Patrons went back to their meals and the hum of machines filled the air. But something had changed. Quietly, without anyone saying a word, the mood had lifted. The small dragon in the corner was no longer just a victim. He had someone watching over him, someone who showed that even the most helpless could find protection and hope. Ryvax finally ate a small bite of his remaining food, feeling a little braver. Milo returned to his work on the lights, adjusting the flickering circuits with care, but he kept an eye on Ryvax. He knew that this was only the beginning. The young dragon had potential, courage hidden beneath fear, and Milo wanted to help him see it. As the night deepened on Zurin 9, the diner stood as a small haven. Sparks still flickered softly from the floor plates, a reminder of what had happened, a symbol of human ingenuity and bravery. Ryvax's eyes shone faintly in the neon light. He had learned something important. Even in a galaxy filled with cruelty and danger, a human could change everything, and sometimes one clever, courageous action could inspire hope that would last far longer than a single moment. The night outside the diner was cold and dark, but inside, warmth and light remained, fueled by courage, cleverness, and the quiet bond forming between a human and a young dragon. The diner on Zurin 9 had quieted down after the mercenaries left. The hum of the machinery above and the soft chatter of patrons created a calm, steady rhythm. Ryvax sat at his corner table, his wings folded tightly and his eyes still wide with awe. He had never imagined that a human could be so clever and brave. Milo had stepped in without fear, without a weapon, and had used his mind to stop creatures far stronger than himself. Ryvax couldn't stop thinking about it. Milo adjusted a loose wire above the counter, but his eyes kept flicking to Ryvax. He could tell the dragon was nervous and unsure. Milo wiped his hands on his jumpsuit and moved slowly toward the table, careful not to startle him. "Hey," Milo said gently. "Do you want to talk?" Ryvax hesitated. He had spent months avoiding contact, hiding his disability and keeping to himself. Most creatures had mocked him, treated him like he was weak or useless. But something about Milo felt different. He didn't just protect Ryvax. He treated him like a creature with thoughts, feelings, and potential. Ryvax swallowed nervously and nodded. Milo sat down across from him. He kept his posture relaxed, hands visible, showing he meant no harm. "I'm Milo," he said. "I fix things, machines, lights, electronics. What's your name?" "Ryvax," the dragon whispered. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper, but there was a faint strength in it. I've never had anyone stand up for me like that." Milo smiled. "It's not about being the strongest," he said. "Sometimes it's about being smart, thinking fast, and caring enough to act. Everyone deserves that, even if they're different." Ryvax's eyes flicked down at his damaged wings. "I'm different," he said softly. "I can't fly like the others. I've tried but I can't. People, they laugh at me." He lowered his head, ashamed. "I don't belong anywhere." Milo leaned slightly forward, speaking with calm confidence. "You do belong," he said. "Everyone has strengths. Yours might not be flying right now, but you're still clever, still capable. You survived what others didn't. You're still here and that matters." Ryvax looked up, meeting Milo's eyes. For the first time he felt someone truly understood. Milo didn't just see his disability, he saw Ryvax as a whole creature with thoughts, feelings, and potential. Ryvax's chest felt lighter. The tension that had been in his body for months began to ease, replaced by a curious hope he hadn't felt in a long time. Milo noticed the small metal walker that Ryvax used. He studied it for a moment. "Have you ever thought about a prosthetic wing?" he asked. Ryvax blinked, surprised. "A wing? Like, something that could help me move better?" "Yes," Milo said. "I can help you design something. It doesn't have to fly perfectly at first, but it could help you move, balance, and even strengthen your wings over time. I can show you the basics of engineering and electronics if you want." Ryvax's eyes widened. He had never had anyone offer to help him like that. Most creatures had only laughed, pushed him down, or ignored him. Milo was offering guidance, friendship, and skill, everything Ryvax had been denied. A small smile appeared on his scales. I'd like that," he said. Milo nodded. "Good. We'll start small. You don't need to rush. Step by step we can make things better." He paused, watching Ryvax's reaction. "And it's not just about moving better," Milo added. "It's about believing in yourself. Strength comes in many forms, and brains, courage, and heart are just as important as wings and claws." Ryvax felt warmth spread through him. He had spent so long thinking he was weak, that his disability made him useless. But Milo showed him another way. Intelligence, courage, and determination could matter more than physical strength. For the first time, Ryvax imagined a future where he could be proud of himself, where he could contribute and belong. The diner's patrons began to notice the interaction. A few humans and aliens quietly watched, some nodding in silent approval. They had seen courage and empathy in action. Milo's calm and clever handling of the bullies, combined with his kindness toward Ryvax, had shifted the atmosphere in the room. It was subtle, but everyone felt it, the quiet power of one person standing up for another. Ryvax moved slightly closer to the table, his claws resting lightly on the edge. "Milo, why do you care so much about helping me?" he asked softly. Milo shrugged, smiling. "Because it's the right thing to do," he said. "And because I believe that helping others makes the world better. You don't have to fight like the mercenaries. You can fight with your mind, your heart, and the choices you make. That's more powerful than any claw or weapon." Ryvax considered this. He had spent years thinking that survival meant hiding and staying out of sight. But Milo's words painted a different picture. Courage could be gentle. Strength could be creative. And even a disabled dragon could make a difference when guided by someone who cared. They talked for hours, sharing stories of their lives. Milo told Ryvax about his work as an electrician, about the small inventions he had made, and about the lessons he had learned in facing danger with intelligence rather than force. Ryvax shared his fears, his failures, and the quiet hope that still flickered inside him. The bond between them grew stronger with each word, built on trust, respect, and a shared understanding of courage. By the end of the night, Ryvax no longer felt alone. The fear that had weighed on him for so long had lifted slightly, replaced by curiosity and determination. Milo had shown him that even in a galaxy filled with cruelty, there were beings who could inspire hope, who could change lives with cleverness and kindness. As the neon lights flickered above and the diner's machines hummed softly, Ryvax realized something important. He had found a friend, a guide, and a mentor in Milo. Together they could face the challenges ahead, and Ryvax no longer had to face the world with fear alone. The bond they formed that night was the beginning of something new: hope, courage, and the possibility of a future where even the most unlikely heroes could shine. The quiet of the diner did not last long. Just as Ryvax was beginning to feel safe, a sudden explosion rocked the alley behind the building. Sparks flew from broken pipes and smoke filled the air. The windows rattled and the neon lights flickered violently. Patrons screamed and ducked under tables, and the metallic hum of the diner machines mixed with the crackle of the fire. Ryvax froze. His wings trembled and he gripped his walker tightly, unsure if he could move fast enough. Milo's eyes narrowed. He immediately assessed the situation, noting the exposed wires, the leaking energy conduits, and the unstable metal beams. The mercenaries had returned, this time determined not to just bully but to destroy. Milo could see their silhouettes moving in the smoke, their claws glowing faintly with energy weapons. "Ryvax, stay close to me," Milo said calmly. His voice carried authority, and despite the danger, Ryvax felt a spark of trust. Milo's mind worked quickly. He noticed the floor plates running along the diner's walkway, the broken power lines sparking dangerously, and the emergency circuits above the ceiling. With quick hands he began connecting the wiring to reroute energy, creating controlled arcs of electricity that sizzled across the floor but were carefully guided to avoid harming anyone. The mercenaries advanced, their weapons humming louder. One of them swung at the doorway trying to force it open. Milo activated a small magnetic pulse from a device he had kept in his pocket, and the metallic doors locked with a loud clang. Sparks shot up along the edge, startling the aliens. They weren't used to humans thinking this fast, using technology to create barriers and traps. Ryvax watched, wide-eyed, as Milo moved like a conductor in an orchestra, guiding electricity, controlling lights, and predicting the aliens' movements. He had never imagined someone could fight without claws or wings, using nothing but skill and cleverness. Ryvax felt something stir inside him, a mixture of awe and courage. Maybe he could help too. Milo glanced at Ryvax. You can do more than just hide. Help me. Ryvax hesitated. His wings were weak, but his claws were still strong enough to grip and move objects. He edged forward and lifted a metal tray from the floor, using it to block a small energy pulse heading toward a table where other patrons had cowered. Milo gave a quick nod. Together they could create distractions, confuse the mercenaries, and protect the innocent. The aliens, frustrated by the sudden resistance, tried to rush through the diner, but Milo's traps forced them to move cautiously. Each time they stepped forward, an electrical arc or flickering light forced them to pause. Milo's intelligence allowed him to predict their reactions and manipulate the environment to his advantage. Ryvax followed his lead, gaining confidence with every action. You're doing well, Milo said quietly as he adjusted a wire above the ceiling. Keep moving and keep thinking. Don't fight blindly. Ryvax's heart pounded, but he felt a strange sense of power. He was not just a weak dragon anymore. With Milo's guidance, he was part of a strategy, a team, and even with his disability, he could make a difference. The mercenaries tried to corner them near the back of the diner, but Milo had prepared for this. Using a combination of magnetic pulses and controlled electrical bursts, he forced them to retreat, one by one, each step guided by fear of the unknown technology. Ryvax stayed close, helping to move debris and block passages, gaining confidence in his abilities. Finally, after a tense series of maneuvers, the mercenaries realized they could not win. They were clever, strong, and dangerous, but Milo's planning and Ryvax's help had made them cautious and defensive. With frustrated snarls, they backed away and disappeared into the smoke-filled alley, leaving the diner intact. The patrons slowly came out from hiding, looking around with awe. Many had never seen such clever and coordinated action. Milo wiped sweat from his brow and gave Ryvax a small smile. You did well, he said. You stayed calm, followed directions, and helped. That takes courage. Ryvax felt his chest swell with pride. He had never thought of himself as brave. He had been crippled, mocked, and ignored. But tonight he had been part of something important. He had helped protect others, saved lives, and seen firsthand that courage and clever thinking could matter as much as strength. As the smoke cleared, Ryvax looked around the diner. The small space that had once felt like a prison now seemed like a safe haven. Patrons whispered quietly, nodding to him, offering smiles and encouragement. Ryvax realized that Milo had not only saved him but had also changed how others saw him. For the first time he felt a sense of belonging. Milo moved to Ryvax's side and rested a hand lightly on his shoulder. This isn't the end, he said. You're stronger than you think. Together we can handle things like this. And someday you'll see how much you can really do. Ryvax's eyes glimmered with determination. He had faced danger, felt fear, and still acted. He had learned that courage was not about wings or claws, it was about heart, mind, and trust. And with Milo by his side, he could face the future with confidence. The night outside the diner remained dark and quiet, but inside, warmth and energy filled the space. Sparks still flickered faintly from Milo's devices, a reminder of the battle that had just taken place. Ryvax flexed his wings slowly, imagining the day when they could fly again with Milo's help, when he could face challenges with cleverness instead of fear. For the first time in months, Ryvax believed in himself. He had found a friend, a mentor, and an example of human ingenuity and bravery. And he understood something vital. Even in a galaxy full of cruelty and danger, courage, cleverness, and trust could turn the tide. The bond between the human and the dragon had grown stronger that night, and together, they had shown that even the most unlikely heroes could rise to meet a threat. The diner hummed with life again, machines whirring, patrons chatting softly, and the neon lights glowing steadily. Ryvax knew that this night would be remembered, not for the destruction outside, but for the courage that had saved the diner, the patrons, and him. He glanced at Milo and with a small, determined smile, he whispered, "Thank you." Milo nodded, a quiet smile returning. "We'll do more than survive," he said. "We'll thrive." And together we'll make a difference. Ryvax felt hope bloom inside him, stronger than fear, stronger than doubt. The unexpected threat had not defeated them. It had shown them both what they could accomplish when courage, brains, and heart worked together. Months had passed since the attack on the diner, and life on Zura 9 had changed in quiet but powerful ways. Ryvax moved differently now. His wings were still not perfect, but Milo had worked tirelessly on a prosthetic design that helped him balance, walk, and even glide short distances. The small dragon now carried himself with more confidence, a subtle but noticeable strength in his posture. Patrons in the diner no longer glanced at him with pity or ignored him. They nodded, smiled, or even greeted him warmly. Ryvax had become a symbol of hope, proof that courage and cleverness could triumph over cruelty. Milo had stayed by Ryvax's side through all of it. Every evening after work, he came to the diner to check on him, offering guidance and teaching him small lessons in engineering, problem-solving, and strategy. The bond between them had grown strong, no longer just human and dragon but friends, partners, and allies. Milo had shown Ryvax that intelligence and heart could be just as powerful as claws and wings. Ryvax had learned to trust himself and to act even when he felt afraid. Word of what had happened spread beyond the diner. Patrons shared the story with friends, traders carried it across the streets, and small news broadcasts on nearby colonies mentioned a human and a disabled dragon who had faced mercenaries with courage and cleverness. The story became a quiet legend on Zura 9. Humans were clever, courageous, and capable of inspiring hope, even in the darkest moments. One evening, as the neon lights of the diner flickered softly, Ryvax and Milo sat at their usual table. Ryvax flexed his wings carefully, feeling the subtle assistance of his prosthetic. "Milo," he said quietly, "I never thought I could feel like this. Strong. Important. Like I belong." Milo smiled, reaching across to rest a hand on Ryvax's claw. "You do belong," he said. "You just needed someone to help you see it. And you did the hard part yourself. You faced fear, learned to trust, and acted. That takes more courage than most beings have." Ryvax's eyes glimmered in the neon light. He thought about the aliens who had bullied him, the explosion in the alley, and the helplessness he had felt before Milo stepped in. Now he could see how far he had come. "I want to help others too," he said. "Like you helped me. There must be creatures all over this planet, and maybe beyond, who need someone to believe in them." Milo nodded. "Exactly. That's how change spreads. One act of courage, one moment of cleverness and kindness, it can ripple through communities, even entire planets. You don't need to fight with weapons. You just need to think, act, and care." Together they began small projects. Milo taught Ryvax how to repair machinery, set up safety devices, and create simple prosthetics for creatures with disabilities. They worked on helping other dragons, injured or struggling, and slowly built a network of support that stretched across the local districts. Patrons and traders who had witnessed Ryvax's transformation began to contribute ideas, supplies, and encouragement. The diner had become more than a place to eat. It had become a hub of community and ingenuity. The alien mercenaries were never seen in the diner again. They had been humiliated and wary of the human and dragon duo. Some whispered among themselves about the clever tactics Milo had used and the courage of Ryvax. On Zura 9, it became clear that cruelty and intimidation were not always the strongest forces in the galaxy. Intelligence, ingenuity, and compassion could accomplish far more. One day, a group of young dragons arrived at the diner, injured and scared after being bullied by other creatures in the streets. Ryvax approached them carefully, offering advice and small demonstrations of balance and movement with his prosthetic wing. Milo joined him, showing simple devices to help them feel safer and stronger. The young dragon's eyes lit with hope. They had never seen such teamwork, such courage, or such clever solutions. Ryvax realized that he had become a teacher in his own right. Not because he was the strongest, but because he had learned to trust his mind, his heart, and the guidance of a human friend. He understood something crucial. Helping others was not about fighting or dominating. It was about teaching, inspiring, and showing that courage and cleverness mattered. The diner hummed with life as usual, but it felt different now. The stories of bravery and ingenuity had spread beyond its walls. Patrons came not just to eat but to learn, to share, and to witness the bond between human and dragon. Milo and Ryvax worked together quietly, fixing machines, designing devices, and giving guidance. Every small act carried weight. Every lesson offered hope. At night, after the diner had closed and the streets of Zura 9 had emptied, Ryvax and Milo sat on the roof of the diner. The city lights stretched out like stars, reflecting off the metallic buildings. Ryvax flexed his wings slowly, feeling the balance and strength he had gained. Milo, he said softly, I never thought I could make a difference. But now, I see that even someone like me can change things. And humans really can change the world one choice at a time. Milo looked at him, a proud smile on his face. That's right, he said. You faced fear. You acted with courage. You helped others. That's what makes humans special, our ability to think, to care, and to inspire. And now you're part of that too. Ryvax's eyes gleamed in the moonlight. He realized that the changes they had made together had not just affected the diner or the planet, they had sent a message to the galaxy. Strength was not only measured by power or aggression. True strength came from cleverness, courage, and compassion. That lesson would echo far beyond Zuran 9. The city slept quietly below, unaware of the quiet revolution that had begun in a small diner. But Ryvax and Milo knew the truth. They had faced cruelty, danger, and fear, and emerged stronger, wiser, and more capable. Together they had shown that even the weakest, the disabled, or the underestimated could change the world. Ryvax flexed his wings one last time, feeling the warmth of hope spread through him. He had a future filled with purpose, courage, and the possibility to help countless others. Milo smiled beside him, knowing that this was only the beginning. The bond they shared, the lessons they had learned, and the courage they had shown would ripple through the galaxy, quietly proving that humans and those who trusted them could truly make a difference. The diner on Zuran 9 was no longer just a place to eat. It had become a symbol, a reminder that cleverness, bravery, and kindness could overcome cruelty, that the smallest act of courage could inspire a galaxy, and that no one was truly powerless when someone believed in them. Ryvax and Milo had changed more than a single life, they had changed a world.